Welcome everyone to our new podcast. My name is Manar Samad, and today we will discuss university teaching, a topic that has drawn a lot of questions, attentions, and has created a lot of myths out there. One of the reasons for this discussion is these days we see more and more talents being attracted to the industry because there are more jobs out there than any time before. So that's why we wanted to understand why some people still decide to stay in academia and make an academic job for a living. Just a quick disclaimer, we're not going to go after any particular profession, and we fully respect and understand that people have their personal reasons and personal preferences to choose one profession over the other. But here we'll just share our perspectives, why we decided to stay in academia and what else people should consider when they make their career decisions. To help with today's discussion, we have a special guest, Professor Mahmoudur Rahman. And I know Mahmoud for quite some time. He did his master's from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and then PhD from University of Louisville, Kentucky. And after several postdoctoral positions, he landed his first faculty job at one of the universities under the University of Texas system. Mahmoud, welcome to the show, and how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, thank you, Manar. Nice to meet you today. I've been doing wonderful so far, and I'm really grateful to be attending.
How is weather in Texas? Warm, sunny?
I would say, I actually, before coming here, I was living in Chicago. So I consider Chicago summer is the best weather I have experienced so far. So now I'm experiencing Chicago summer in Texas now. So it's not winter anymore, but yeah, weather is good.
All right, sounds good. So let me start off by asking this question, okay?
Sure.
My understanding that many fresh graduates, because I have graduate students and I get to talk to other people and other graduate students, their parents as well. One of the driving forces behind choosing industrial career, industrial path is money, right? Money matters. Who doesn't want money, right? So having that in mind, there are still quite a few people, if not many, who decided to stay in academia. They don't want to move. So my question to you is, what actually motivated you to stay in academia? So this is the first question, or we can say first part of the first question. The second part of the first question is, how would you motivate a fresh graduate to stay in academia? What are the rewards? What are the benefits? What are the incentives?
Okay. I think there are several parts of your question. If I would go one by one, then first thing is like, what is my natural instinct? What I really like? Like, I'm kind of in biology, you know, there is a called stem cell. So a stem cell can be differentiated into like bone cell, skin cell, or muscle cell, this kind of thing. So I'm new in this profession. So I consider myself as I'm still a stem cell. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what could be my preferable position as my career. But I always love teaching. I have some, as I have been in a like a student for a long time, and I know some of the things. So what really motivates me, that's one thing. Another thing is that over the time when I did my PhD, postdoc, and things like that, I actually came across a lot of ideas, and those ideas made me like in a singular position that really makes me my way of dealing things so far in learning makes me more good at creating knowledge through perhaps in academia, not in industry. And of course, money, most of the time we are motivated because of the money. We have families and a lot of things going on. So money matters a lot. But the way I look the industry job or maybe our other service-oriented job or like in teaching profession is like, I feel like teaching or research, it's more relaxing profession. Like you are more relaxed, you are engaging with the students. When you are relaxed, you are more good at creating knowledge or delivering knowledge. But when you are engaged in profit-oriented field, perhaps this is more like a pressurized field. You have a you have a like a structure hierarchy, and you have to maintain those kind of. It's not your willingness to deliver something. Perhaps you're willing. You are bound to do something because of the profit things. So that's the another thing. That's I don't like that much. But I'm not saying that industry is not a good thing to do. A lot of knowledge are being created through industry as well, and there are a lot of good environment as well. But yeah, I'm kind of still figuring out. But I feel like creating knowledge and creating a knowledge-based society is still teaching and research in the teaching institution plays a big role. Yeah.
Okay. Just to add to this,
Sure.
So if I can understand this correctly, so for example, as a professor, we do not have actual supervisor to command and order that you have to do certain thing in certain specific ways. I personally do not like, because I enjoy the freedom of doing whatever I want, whichever I want. So this is one part, but the downside to that you are your own boss and you are responsible for your own failure and successes. That puts you in a very precarious position, because if you fail, you have to put all your blames on yourself. But if you work in the industry, it's mostly a teamwork, and if you make a mistake, other team members may equally share the responsibilities. So from that perspective, I see some advantage working in the industry. And at the same time, I have seen a lot of bright, talented students there sharing that, oh, sitting in academia, we're just playing with the dummy toy prototypes. But the actual systems are built in the industry, and it gives us enormous pleasure to see those modules or the devices are being used by actual people and receiving customer feedback. That is what they appreciate a lot. So that's one aspect of that. And then there is always some sort of contention between the industry and academic people, because despite the fact that I have tremendous appreciation and support for industry people, and I have learned a lot from them, and I admire them by all means. But at the same time, I do get these comments that possibly we haven't learned anything else out of academia. Those textbook things are useless. We can have a separate podcast on that. But what makes a graduate a graduate? And I do get these comments that these days, to work for an industry, you do not need the 4-year college education. You can just go straight off your high school degree and get some sort of training from the company, and that's it, you are all set. Then you don't need universities. And I have heard parents talking in favor of industry to the extent that sitting in academia, we're not doing as they expect us to do. Then at the same time, those students were sent to academia, sent to universities to get their certification, to get their college degree and whatsoever. So to some extent, I feel these are self-refuting positions, that in one hand, you are not putting a lot of appreciation for academic job or what we do in academia in terms of teaching or research. At the same time, we're sending our kids to academia to get those degrees. So what's your take on that?
Yes, that's a very good point here. I would differ in a sense, is that academia actually, it's just not creating a skilled manpower. It also creates a skilled human being in a sense, because knowledge has to be, you gain some knowledge and you have to put the knowledge put together in a nice way. For example, I can give an example here. Say I'm now teaching a engineering programming language, like I'm teaching Python. Now Python has some specific syntax, like you have to use for loop and things like that. I can just teach those things, just learn the Python, and that's it. But what I do, and I think most of the professor in academia perhaps does is this way. I also develop concepts, like say I'm using if else as a syntax or something in Python, but at the same time I'm saying that you are learning, like branching things, like if this is true, then you have to go that route, or this kind of things. So ideas are more deliverable in a classroom settings. It's not just about the techniques. And so the idea is I'm teaching the Python. If they learn how it works, they should be also should be able to cope with the C++ or other computer language. And also this is true, for example, when I'm doing some design software, like say SolidWorks, things. There are many different softwares in the market, but I have to teach in a way so that they understand the concept and they can put together this concept when they're in industry. And I think this is true for not for the engineering field, but also for other fields too. So that's why no matter how developed we are in creating contents in online and things like that, the classroom setting will never, the demand of the classroom will never end. And actually it could be a long discussion, actually, if you will, in some other time. There are a lot of automation going on, and many things you really to be a good industrial professionals, you really don't need to learn a lot of things, because maybe at the end Excel is enough to deal with the things.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's the reason many people are like considering that perhaps we need to change the curriculum to make it more easy, friendly, so that we can create more manpower. But at the end, they will not be able to create intuitive development as a human being. I heard that in some school, maybe in California or somewhere, that they don't want to teach the calculus anymore because there's no use of calculus. It's used in like maybe in very scientific research. So they want to emphasize more statistical tools because these are more useful in industry. But if you don't teach calculus, then perhaps many people you will generate, they will not appreciate the research, appreciate the very vast, important research. And those people who do research and those people who build the community in a good sense will be minimized, and other people will create like policy and things like that. So what I'm trying to say is that in university, we just don't teach the techniques. We also teach concept ideas, and how to engage with those ideas, those kind of things. So it's much bigger. Yeah.
Okay, so my understanding of this is there is one part what we call the depth. So you can learn certain things up to certain depth, and also the important thing is the breadth. So if you want to study in one particular skill, you can live with it. That's no problem with that. But if you have some additional side skills, that means you're extending the breadth of your knowledge. That gives a lot of advantage. And even in computer science, what I understand is there are so many people, let's say, without any technical science or math or whatever background, they can easily learn how to code in many ways. And there are a lot of good programmers out there. But then I see the frustration from those programmers that they're as if coding like they're not understanding what's going on under the hood, right? And what we teach in academia, that it's not what to do, how to do, right? Just in case things fail, you should be also able to explain why it failed, right? Now, why piece is something you can achieve when you have that foundational education, at the four-year university level, and because of course at the graduate level. So I can add to that I have my graduates as well as undergraduate students, they're interviewing industries, and they came back and say, you know, professor, one funny thing happened. The guy in the interview was asking me the same question that you taught in class. And when I hear this, I think I'm teaching something that is worthwhile in class, because the students are getting benefited. And I always keep the industrial need in mind when I teach in my class, because most of my students will be placed in the industry. So they need to know some of the real world implication in addition to those foundational lessons they're getting from classroom, right? What's your experience with working with the students when they go and apply for a job?
Can you repeat that question? I couldn't hear you for the timing.
The question is, do you have any experience with the students that when they get the four-year college education and go and apply for a job and sit for an interview, do they get the type of questions that are aligned with the lessons that we offer at our four-year undergraduate schools?
Perhaps I don't have that kind of experience so far, because I'm very new here. Perhaps you can share more of those things. But while I'm teaching, I'm trying to like figure out what they are motivated to, like what they are doing. In my profession right now, I see some of the students, perhaps I don't know how much, but they are already in some kind of job. They are involved in some job. So sometimes they are not motivated much, like to learn all the details things, you know. But I try to get like feedback and try to understand what their intention is. One of the things that I learned that I used to believe that if you have a better understanding, better concept, say you understand some topic very well, then you should be able to deliver it very well. But actually that's not the case, because communication matters a lot. So that's what I'm learning so far in my teaching career. I noticed that I understand things very well. So why I can't deliver it well? Why my students doesn't understand well? I noticed that there are some concept, maybe the ideas I'm conveying depends on some like concept. Those concepts are not clear to them. It's clear to me. So I'm building stuff that's not clear to them. So what I do, I try to get like for example, in the middle of, say, after 7, 6, or 8 classes, I did a little survey. Are you enjoying the class, or what's better? So those kind of things help me to understand each student's feedback, what's going on. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's a lot about practice. It's not about the delivering things, it's also about practice. So then I think if you can deliver thing in a comprehensive way, then I believe once they face the interview, then they should be able to at least answer in an appropriate way. Otherwise, they will not be like mumbling up on things, but they will be, if they don't understand, they will understand that why they don't understand this kind of things. And also what I do is I sometimes tell some kind of a little advanced things, and I clearly tell them that it's not what I want you to absorb, or I want you to learn a lot. But what I want to tell them that you should be aware of this, because that can come in future, or it can help to build a context. So that's kind of my feeling. I'm still learning because I'm new in the field, but I think you can share some of your experience if you will.
Yeah, connecting the classroom lessons with money, saying that, oh, you know, this is the specific skill set you need in the industry. So that should at least motivate you to turn in your assignment on time and be really motivated and focused, because at the end of the day, and I tell them, okay, these are the questions you can expect in the industry, in the job interviews. right? And this is how I try to keep them motivated. And another important thing is we do less at undergraduate level is public speaking. And because in computer science, I can talk about that engineers and computer scientists are not good communicators. They are not good in presentation and communicating. We're not coming from business background where we can convince, persuade the clients. But the public speaking is so important. And I tell my students to do some presentation. And I try to emphasize on that presentation, because no matter how smart you are, how excellent coder you are, at the end of the day, you have to communicate to the client or to other people, to the vendors or whatever, to make your business run and happening. And the same thing is true in academia, because we as a professor, we have some sort of obligation to make it very clear to the students that they're well communicated. They don't have any confusion, and we can be really patient about that. So just to wrap it up, because we can have another podcast on other aspects of teaching.
Sure.
So you were saying that when money is the main driving factor, in my opinion, how much money do you need to become happy, right? So that's the question. Now, if you see that, oh, my industry friends are driving Tesla and I also need a Tesla, and that's why I needed to go to industry. I'm not happy with RAV4 or Toyota Camry, then that's a different level of motivation. So what I would recommend is let not money make the main driving factor, because in the United States, you're not gonna be poor for whatever reason if you get a degree from engineering or computer science. Even if you stay in academia, the pay is really good and really standard, but not everyone needs $1 million house. Not everyone needs a Tesla. Right? But so listen to your heart. If you think that you are appreciative of the fact that the professors who worked hard to teach you at four-year college or graduate school or as a PhD supervisor, you see the hard work of your PhD supervisor, you see the dedication of your master supervisor, her research, and all the things that she tries to bring in to train the manpower, which we make ready for the industry, ready for the nation, and try to focus more on the broader impact, how the society is, because money is something very tangible. We can see money. I can see it's a cash. The companies are putting a lot of cash incentives. It's obvious. But what people don't see in academia is something that is very intangible. And that is something very abstract, the way we train and develop manpower and put it in the industry. And we try to do good for the betterment of the society and everything else. So that should give satisfaction to some people. I mean, when I see that, when I'm trying to answer a question and the light bulbs goes off, right? That's what we call in English, the light bulb moment in students. And he's very appreciative of the fact that I was able to explain it very well. It's the same level of satisfaction you will get, if not more, you will get from a patient being treated by a doctor, by a physician, right? So those are some of the things that are related to personal satisfaction. And of course, we can talk about our personal choices, personal liberties. Our time is very flexible. We're very flexible in times. Right?
Yes.
That's one part. We can walk into campus and in and out anytime we want. There is no 8 to 5 clock in, clock out type of thing, no counting on hours. As long as we're regular in our office hours in teaching. But on the flip side, I work 7 days a week because I have to keep my brain active for research, new ideas, but I can do it at my own pace, at my personal hours. But I mean, once you become a full professor, once you start to bring money in terms of research, you get a really stable financial position. And at the same time, when pandemic hits, when there is a recession, I see an influx of students or influx of graduates moving from the industry to academia to pursue their masters and PhDs, because unfortunately they have been laid off by the company. So we don't have that type of fear that much, if you will. Would you like to add
Yeah.
anything to that before we wrap it up and close this session? Thank
No,
you.
I totally agree with you. I think the reason of me or many people are in the academia business is that they actually want to create some knowledge, right? They, for a long time, I did like PhD and then postdoc. I learned a lot of techniques. I have some ideas. Now I need to build upon those ideas. So I need a kind of relaxing time, I would say. And what I experienced that when I was doing postdoc with some, say, assistant professor, they just joined the industry academia, and they're really busy with so many things. So they don't have relaxing time. And I really hate that, because in academia, you have that kind of relax so that students
that
can.
professor was not in academia, he was in the industry?
No, in academia, I'm saying, say, when you are, say, tenure track
Tenure track is tough.
professor. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Say someone is writing grant and things like that. It's very competitive, and it's not a relaxing at that moment. You know, it's very pressurized things. So I want to see perhaps to minimize that pressure so that we can really create a knowledge. Like at the beginning, we need to like a relaxing time to to sort out our ideas so that we can write a grant and things like that. I don't know how to do that, but I think this could be
My
another
experience is
motivating thing.
people work better under pressure than under relaxation, because when you have a deadline or something, you really push hard to get the best out of you. I mean, different people have different strategies, but there is a saying that if you really love what you do, you can persevere, right? No matter how hard it is. Because if you don't like, then any rational person would give up in that position, right? Because I can endure, I can put up with this stress. Why? Because I really love what I do, right? That's the bottom line. So
yeah, that's makes her alive in this field. That's the bottom line, right?
But it's still, that's why I'm interested to know that if we can talk so many negative things about academia.
Yes, perhaps it will help. Yeah.
So many people, and the number is getting less and less, fewer and fewer these days, are still in academia. What pulls them in rather than getting drawn by the for-profit industry? Okay.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna stop here today, and thank you, Mahmoud, for your insights. And we will have another podcast, getting more details into the teaching methodologies and how we could better interact with the students and make things better in academia. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.